Good morning, fourth graders. This is your math e-learning lesson for Monday, April 20th. Today we're going to be doing the test review for, this is 23A, our test review. So let's take a look, please, as you follow along, and let's work on this together. First section, use the information in the circle graph to answer questions 1 to 4. So the first thing you need to do is to come over here and take a good look at the circle graph. Again, notice that there is a title. You always want to make sure you're reading that so you know what it is that you're looking at on the graph. And this is how Darby spent his day. How Darby spent his day. And so then if you take a look, not only do you have different size pieces, because remember in a circle graph you can simply just have it divided up into pieces and have labels put on each, or in this case, not only is there a label, but there's an amount of time. So we take a look and we see that for school there's 6 hours, sleeping 8 hours, playing 3 hours, TV 1 hour, homework 3 hours, other 2 hours, and eating 1 hour. So this shows us how Darby spent his day. We're going to use that information to complete 1 to 4. We take a look at number 1. What is the total number of hours shown in the graph? What is the total number of hours shown in the graph? Well, using some logical reasoning, here it says how Darby spent his day. And then on the graph, you're shown different number of hours. So if we're looking at the total number of hours, and this is how Darby spent his day, what do you think the total number of hours should be? Right, it should be 24 because there are 24 hours in a day, and this is how he spent his day. But we're going to take a look to see what it is exactly we have just to be certain. So we have 6 hours, 8 hours, 3, 1, 3 for homework, 2 for other, and 1 for eating. So let's total up his number of hours, please. 8 and 2 is 10. 6 and 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. 10 and 10 is 20. 20 plus 3 is 23, plus 1 is 24. So you can see that this is correct, and that since this is how he spent his day, there is a total of 24 hours. Okay, and if you total this up and you didn't get 24, either you made a mistake then with your addition, or it would tell you to take another look at the graph and perhaps a mistake was made there. Number 2 asks, what fraction of Darby's day was spent watching television? Watching television. Well, when we take a look, we see that Darby spent 1 hour watching TV. When you're writing a fraction, remember that the numerator is the part of the fraction that's going to answer the question. The denominator is always the total number of parts or pieces of something. In this case, since we're looking at how he spent his day, the denominator of our fraction would be 24 because there are 24 hours in the day, and this graph, the information is broken up by hours. So you have 24 hours in the day, that's your denominator, and then what fraction was spent watching television, and on the graph it tells us he watched only 1 hour. So that 1 would be the numerator. 1 hour out of 24 hours was spent watching television. 1/24. Okay, number 3. If Darby's school starts at 7:30 a.m., what time does it end? Well, you have to go back to the graph. Remember, questions 1 to 4, you need the information from the graph. Okay, so now what time does his school end? Well, if we take a look here, we see that he needs to spend 6 hours. He spent 6 hours of his day at school. So if his school starts at 7:30, what time does it end? It's going to be 6 hours later. So again, you would go count from 7:30, 6 hours. So if you wanted to say 7:30, and then another hour would be 8:30, and another one 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30. Okay, again, 6 hours. Okay, so 7:30 to 8:30 is 1 hour, to 9:30 is 2, 10:30 is 3, 11:30 is 4, 12:30 is 5, 1:30 is 6. So then he would finish up school at 1:30. Okay, again, you're just simply adding 6 hours on to 7:30, so count in increments of an hour, starting with 7:30. The next hour is 8:30, and so on. So school would end at 1:30. Number 4, how many hours did Darby spend at school and doing homework? So we're looking at 2 activities, 2 things he did. How much time was spent at school and doing homework? Well, we already know that he spent 6 hours at school, and over here it says for homework 3 hours. So 6 hours plus 3 hours. So you have your 6 hours plus an additional 3 hours equals 9 hours. Okay. The next section, use the information given to answer questions 5 and 6. 5 and 6. So now we're looking at this information here, and we're using that to help us answer numbers 5 and 6. Let's take a look. Samantha has 8 cats. Each cat eats 1/2 can of food each day. Cat food costs 63 cents per can. So we know some information about Samantha's cats. She has 8 cats. Each of her cats eats 1/2 can of food every day. And we also know that it costs 63 cents for each can. Okay, let's see what we need to figure out. Number 5, how many cans of food are used each day? How many cans of food are used each day? Okay, again, Samantha has 8 cats. If she gives each of those cats 1/2 can of food, okay, let's work over here for a minute. Say she has 8 cats, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, if you don't remember about adding fractions, this is one way you could figure out your answer. Simply that Samantha has 8 cats and each one eats 1/2 can of food. So I represented each cat by writing 1/2 can of food for each one. There are 8 cats. Okay, 8 cats, each one eats 1/2 can of food. How many cans of food does she use each day? Well, you know that 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole. So there's 1 whole can, 2, 3, 4 whole cans. So there's one way to figure out that she uses 4 cans each day. Now, again, if you remember how to add fractions when you have like denominators, and remember like denominators means that they are the same, then you can just simply add your fractions. So let's add your fractions. So you have 1/2 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're adding 1/2 8 times. Remember, when they are like denominators, all the denominators are the same, then we just keep the same denominator. Then we add the numerators, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So now we have 8 halves. Remember that this is an improper fraction. Okay? This is an improper fraction. If it's an improper fraction, you're going to think of this as a division problem, because you always want to change that improper fraction to a whole number or a mixed number. So now you think of this as a division problem, and you're saying 8 divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 equals 4. And there you go, your 4 cans. Okay, so again, there's always more than one way to figure out your answer. Here is an example of 2 different ways you may have gone about to figure out that Samantha needs 4 cans of cat food each day. Number 6, how much does Samantha spend on cat food per day? In other words, each day, how much money does she have to spend on cat food? Well, now that you know she needs 4 cans each day, you also know that it costs 63 cents per can. You can simply multiply 63 cents times 4. 4 times 3 equals 12. 4 times 6 equals 24, plus 1 equals 25. So that would be 252 cents, and you know we don't leave it that way. We write it using dollar sign and decimal point. So then we have $2.52. Okay, so she would spend $2.52 each day. Number 7, if the perimeter of a square is 100 inches, how long is each side? The perimeter of a square, okay, so here's my square, okay, the perimeter is 100 inches. Remember that perimeter means total distance around. The total distance around. So the total distance is 100 inches. Not each side, the total distance is 100 inches. This is a square. A square has 4 equal sides. So if the perimeter or the total distance around the square is 100 inches and you have 4 sides of equal length, then you need to just figure out one side, and you would do that by saying 100 divided by 4. What is 100 divided by 4? Well, if you need to work that out, 100 divided by 4, you have 10 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times 4 is 8. You write it down. You subtract, bring down the next digit. 20. 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5 times 4 equals 20. Okay? So 100 divided by 4 equals 25. So each side of your square measures 25 inches. 25 plus 25 is 50. 50 plus 25 is 75. And 75 plus 25 is 100. Okay. So the perimeter of your square, the perimeter of your square is 100 inches. And so each side measures 25 inches. Okay, number 8 asks, there's an A and a B for number 8. What is the radius of the circle and what is the diameter? What is the radius and what is the diameter? Okay, well let's start with the radius. Let's start with the diameter, because the diameter goes from one side of the circle to the other. And we look here and we see that the diameter is 1 and right here it's halfway between 1 and 2. So it's 1.5 inches. Okay? Or yes, 1.5 inches. So A and B, the diameter is 1.5 inches. Okay? 1.5 inches. Now, the radius is half of the diameter. It's half of the diameter. So some of you may be able to look at 1.5 inches and you might know immediately what half of that is, and then you have the radius. It's okay if you don't, because again, the ruler is right here on the circle. Remember that radius goes from the center of the circle to the side, from the center to the side. The diameter goes all the way across. So all you really need to do is to find the center of your circle, and here it is. This is the center of your circle, and then you can just look to see, okay, well, what does the ruler tell us? Well, let's look. You have an inch. Your inch, of course, is divided up into fourths. Okay, since you're going from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, or from the edge to the center, you can see that it measures less than 1 inch. So that tells you right away you're going to have a fraction then. And you have 1, 2, 3. We said we have 4 equal parts, so we know that the denominator will be 4. And then we count up how many of those parts. Here is the first one, the second, and the third. So we're at the third part, 3/4. So A, the radius, measures 3/4 of an inch, okay, because it's not quite a whole inch, so you know right away if it's not a whole inch, it must be a fraction. And then you look to see how many equal parts do you have. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. And the center is right here on the third part, so 3/4 of an inch. Okay, and again, the diameter is 1.5 inches. You may have looked at it and said, well, it's 1, and then it's a little bit more than 1, so I know it's going to be a mixed number. You have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So you might have said, well, this is 1 and 2/4 because there are 4 equal parts, and it's pointing to the second one. But you also need to remember that anytime we have that fraction 2/4, we're going to write it as 1/2. So if you looked at it and you read it as 1 and 2/4, that's correct. But remember, you need to reduce that 2/4 to a half. So you would say 1.5. And again, if you look, you can see that it stops halfway between the 1 and the 2. There's your half. Okay, let's go to number 9 now. Number 9 says to change the improper fraction 7/3 to a mixed number. Again, we worked on an improper fraction a little bit ago. When you have that improper fraction, it's like a division problem. And so now you have 7/3, you're going to say 7 divided by 3. 7 divided by 3. And 3 times 2 equals 6. And you subtract that. 7 minus 6 is 1. There's nothing else to bring down, so that 1 is your remainder. So now when you're writing this as a mixed number, you have 7/3, you're writing it as a mixed number, you know that you start by the beginning of the quotient, which is 2. That becomes your whole number. Because it's thirds, we keep it thirds. The denominator stays the same. And we use your remainder as the numerator. Okay, so 7/3, when you divide, 7 divided by 3 equals 2 with a remainder of 1. 2 is your whole number, your remainder 1 is your numerator, and the denominator stays the same, 3, 2, and 1/3. Okay, number 10 asks, what fraction name for 1 is shown by the shaded part of this rectangle? Well, again, the whole rectangle is shaded in because you're looking for a fraction name for 1 for the whole thing. So you simply count up what you have: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You have 15 squares out of 15 squares that are shaded in. Remember that fraction names for 1 means the numerator and the denominator needs to be the same. 15 15ths are shaded in. In other words, you have 15 little squares, all 15 are shaded in. It means the whole rectangle is shaded in. Okay, number 11. Martin bought 2 toy trucks for $8.60 each, and he paid $1.27 in sales tax. He paid the clerk with a $20 bill. How much change did he get back? So ultimately, we need to figure out the amount of change that Martin got back after he made his purchase. Well, first, let's take a look at what he bought. Remember, you always want to figure out how much money was spent first before you can figure out how much change you'll get back. So, 2 toy trucks for $8.60 each. Now, you could either multiply the $8.60 by 2, or you can just simply say $8.60 plus $8.60. But there's also tax. We need to add on the tax as well. These are all things that you have to pay for. You have to pay for the item that you're purchasing, and you have to pay for the tax. So we add that up. That's 7. 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Carry over the 1. Make sure you bring down that decimal point. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17, plus 1 is 18. Okay, so now we know that he spent $18.47. Now it says that he paid with a $20 bill. He paid with a $20 bill. How much change did he get back? Well, he spent $18.47, but he paid with a $20 bill. So he gives the clerk a $20 bill. His purchase cost him $18.47. We subtract that and we'll figure out the amount of change he gets back. We have all zeros here. We can't say 0 minus 7, so we're going to come way over here to trade. 2 becomes 1. That makes this 0 a 10. Now we can trade from the 10. The 10 becomes a 9. This 0 becomes 10. Now we can trade from that 10. That becomes a 9, and this 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 7 equals 3. 9 minus 4 equals 5. Bring down the decimal point. 9 minus 8 equals 1. Bring down your dollar sign because here you had 1 minus 1, which is 0. So his change would be $1.53. Remember, you always want to look at the purchase first. What are you buying? Is there tax that also has to be paid? Add that all up first. Figure out how much money is being spent first. After you do that, then you can figure out the change that you would get back. So this was his total, $18.47. He paid with a $20 bill. He only spent $18.47 of that, so that means he gets back $1.53. Okay, let's go to number 12. The big truck traveled 140 miles in 4 hours. About how far did the truck travel each hour? And how far could the truck go in 10 hours at the same speed? So you actually have two questions here. Now, this word about really is misleading in this problem because when we use the word about, we're usually looking to do an estimate. This, in a sense, is an estimate, but it's not because you're actually working with exact numbers. And so it's a little confusing. The reason they put in the word about is because, well, we know maybe 1 hour he went a little bit more, 1 hour he went a little bit less. But that word about is a little bit misleading in here because it makes it seem as though you're going to have to do some rounding when really you do not. Okay, so it's the big truck traveled 140 miles in 4 hours. Well, if he did 140 miles in 4 hours, how far did he go each hour? So we're going to do that first. Remember, there are two questions here. We're doing the first one. Okay, so he goes 140 miles in 4 hours. So we have 140 miles, okay, in 4 hours. And now we want to see, well, then how far did he go in just one of those hours? So then we need to divide 140 divided by 4 because you sort of work back so that you can figure out, well, if he did all of this in 4 hours, then what did he do in just 1 hour? So we have 140 divided by 4, and we're going to say 14 divided by 4 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. Bring down the next digit, which is a 0. And 20 divided by 4 is 5. 5 times 4 equals 20. So he went 35 miles each hour. So if he does 35 miles each hour in 4 hours, that'll be 140 miles. Now again, the reason that they have in there that word about is because realistically, it doesn't mean that he went exactly 35 miles each hour. Okay, but for the sake of the problem, you're not actually rounding any numbers. You're working with exact numbers. 140 miles divided by the 4 hours means he traveled 35 miles each hour. Okay, now that was part A. So part A is 35 miles. Part B, which you can't overlook just because it's all written together and they didn't put an A and B, you need to see that there are two questions being asked. How far could the truck go in 10 hours at the same speed? Well, now that you know he went 35 miles each hour, well, if he travels for 10 hours, how far is that? So now what are you doing? 35 times 10. because he goes 35 miles each hour, and if he travels for 10 hours, and simple multiplication, when you're multiplying by 10 or multiples of 10, 35 times 1 is 35, and you just bring your 0 over. Okay, 350 miles. Okay, all right. Down below here we have a subtraction of money. You're multiplying money, simply multiplying. 16 is multiplication as well. 17, working out long division. 18, long division. 19, how many quarts equal a half gallon? Okay, you just need to know the number of quarts that would be in a half gallon, not a full gallon, a half gallon. And number 20, you're subtracting to figure out the value of n. All right, so you just need to work out the rest of those on your own. Again, make sure you go back and you review what we've done together today so that you'll be better prepared for tomorrow's test. Anything you need me to review with you or any questions that you might have, please make sure you give me a call so I can help you with that. Okay, also, don't forget, I haven't really mentioned in the last few days, but you're still expected each day to spend some time on IXL or extra math. Okay, again, if you need me, you know where to find me. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.